Welcome to episode 441, where I'm speaking with Dr. Sujatha Kekada about Ayurveda myths and misconceptions. And we cover a lot in this episode, including garlic, onions, coffee, alcohol, and whether Ayurveda is strictly vegetarian or not. Dr. Sujatha clarifies all these myths and misconceptions. So please stay tuned to learn more. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette. And if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend starting with the first few episodes where I introduce the foundations of Ayurveda and the doshas. To learn more, work with me, or explore my offerings, you can visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for podcast updates, join me on Instagram at Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And before we begin, just a quick note to say that this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not intended as medical advice. Now let's dive into this episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I am very happy to welcome back Dr. Sujatha Kekada, who is head physician and co-founder of Amirta Siddhi Ayurvedic Clinic in Ubud in Bali. Dr. Sujatha, welcome back to the podcast. You've been on so many times now. I don't think I need to go through your full bio. So welcome back.
Thanks, Colette. It's always fun.
Always fun. And today I'm looking forward to this episode because we're going to discuss the Ayurvedic myths and misconceptions that are out there. And there's quite a few of them. Global popularity of Ayurveda has both helped but also hindered its true understanding because it's such a depth of knowledge, of wisdom, that now with social media, there's little sound bites, right? And that can really affect and not do justice to the depth of this wisdom.
True. It's good you're using this topic for today's podcast. So let's explore and clarify a few myths as we go.
Absolutely. And so myth number one, let's start with that. Ayurveda is not scientific. It's just an alternative healing modality. What do you have to say about that myth?
That's a big title. I think I haven't come across recently so much. I think during COVID time, I think it was a big debate, particularly in India. Everybody's trying to figure out how to treat and what solution, all those things. And in India, Ayurveda is very popular. There are a lot of Ayurvedic doctors, universities where you can study Ayurveda and all these things. And, Ayurvedic doctors coming up with, okay, you could do this, you could do that, all those things. And, Western medical doctors like going against them and saying, oh, this is not scientifically proven. Show us data. How can you prove this? So it's a whole world or medicine, allopathic medical system, scientific researchers, they have their own criteria, how they research. Science is something, gives us an understanding what it is and how it works. So it's like understanding the universe through, how, why and how. This is what basically science gives us an answer. And it's perceived through what our sense organs can perceive. So anything beyond that is considered non-scientific because we are not able to perceive. The perception capacity is not there. And also, when scientifically something need to be proven, the criteria are very different, which comes through what we can perceive through sense. So when we study an object, we just want to crack it down and see what it is made up of. Can I reconstruct it again? So that's where it shows, okay, this is scientific. And then understanding a phenomenon. So how it is working and understanding that through different researches, observations and trial and error method. And finally concluding, okay, I know this is how the heart works. So I know this is how this medicine works and this heals. But when it comes to Ayurveda, the same method, if you try to apply to Ayurvedic concept, it's not going to work. Because Ayurvedic lens of observation is understanding the physiology, and it works more, Ayurveda works more, the proof is in the pudding. It's a saying that you see the result, it tells you, yes, it is working. So, but we're not trying to reverse engineer and say, how did it work? because we know it works. And the way we understand this works is completely different. It's not through the lens of five senses. So I think there has been a lot of debate going on also to saying that, okay, we this can be proved. A lot of things, what Ayurveda been talking about now, the Western medical system is saying, oh, yes, this is correct. That's correct. But research need to be done differently, and it need to be observed differently, and different modality of proving scientific research need to happen. So Ayurveda also believes in the universe, the phenomenon, understanding a object, the same thing what science also want to do. So we are in the same interest, but we approach differently. That's all.
Yes. And we have to think as well as the path of modern medicine. Ayurveda, thousands of years old, has the test of time, right? As well. Whereas modern medicine has gone through this very reductionistic mindset. And now it's going more into holistic systems-based models. And so that path or that evolution of modern medicine has had an effect as well as science wanting fact-based evidence of what is true. And so all that has to be taken into account as well.
Yeah. And they want to fixate on what truth is. Truth cannot be changed. So, there is a multiple face for the reality. And, it's like I think it's also a concept, some scientific researchers showed that one thing can look like a circle from one angle, and from another side, it can look like a triangle. Absolutely. So same thing when science goes and proves, oh, coffee is good for this, or this food is good for this. And after a few years, somebody else look from another angle and come up and say it has the, negative effect. It's not all true what's been proven or declared few years ago, because, it has got multiple dimension, and from which perspective you look would give you a different answer.
Exactly. And so just to look at, to list some of the modern scientific research now that acknowledges Ayurvedic concepts, let's just go through a few of them so people can see what Ayurveda understood thousands of years ago. And now modern science is like, oh yeah, this is factual. The gut-brain axis, for one. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, very interesting. Ayurveda always, insisted, persisted, and told, and that, your health begins in your Agni, in your stomach. If the Agni is right, everything is going to be right. Main cause of disease is weakness of Agni, and then it reflecting into doshas, other things. But Agni was the main interest, and always said you can eat anything you want, but if your Agni is not good, even if you buy organic superfood, it's not going to give you the good result. And when to eat, how to eat, the kind of food that affects your mind is being a concept. So it's great that the modern science can prove that, and people who wanted that way of approach and making sure that the knowledge is right. So it's good that they're shedding light to this ancient concept, ancient truth, that's been a fundamental for Ayurveda for upholding health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not only does the status of our Agni, our digestive fire, affect obviously how we are digesting food and whether it's creating ama or the toxins, but also has an impact on our immunity, right, as well. And of course, our mental health as well.
Yeah, like serotonin, the hormone of that when it helps one to enjoy life and experience joy, 70% of that is made in your gut. It's also, the gut processing and nourishing. If it doesn't happen nourishment doesn't happen beginning at your gut, everything else is going to collapse. So, it also talks about different kinds of Agni. So digestion is not only just limited to your gut. It's also, the pathways where the nutrition goes to your liver and then to the heart, all those axes where your vagus nerve run through. So the vagus nerve is responsible for how your digestive system works. And Ayurveda did not just only link the digestion just to your gut, but it also linked to liver and what happens in the cellular level. So this is all kind of, coming into the light, and the science is saying, yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm. And then last couple of mentions here, epigenetics, right? That we know now that we are not a victim of our DNA, that what we do day in, day out determines whether our genes are going to be turned on or off. So our lifestyle is a big factor, plus circadian rhythm and the biological clocks. This is something Ayurveda understood. This is why there's the Dinacharya, the daily self-care practice guidelines, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. So understanding we're not separate from the nature. So, there is a nature inside and there's a nature outside. And that's where Ayurveda included. It's an inclusive science, not a science of segregation. So yeah, that's what with the circadian rhythm, seasons, and all those things affects our human body, and we have to respond accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly a mind-body medicine that really understood our connection to nature and that we are nature. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to myth number 2. Ayurveda is strictly vegetarian. And so let's discuss this. And I want you to talk about as well, how does Ayurveda view animal protein within the context of like healing and constitution?
Ayurveda textbooks, a section where it talks about food, how food affects human body, how much to eat, what to eat, when to eat, all those things. There's a section, it talks about whole list of animal protein. It lists even including dog meat to crow meat. And it all people might find shocking, like, whoever he listens to and who never had this idea. Because a lot of people still now, I get people come to the clinic and they say, I cannot eat meat if I follow Ayurvedic diet. Ayurveda means vegetarianism. No, Ayurveda doesn't say, you need to be a vegan or vegetarian. It talks about the quality of whatever that you can consume and how it's going to interact in your body and what results you can get. So Ayurveda talks about meat is excellent for people who work out physically a lot. A physical labor doing person needs animal protein. This is not for the person who sits on a desk and just moves his fingers. So it's for the person who works in a hard labor because they're using their muscle a lot. And the simple description is Mamsat Mamsa Vriddhi. That means if you eat meat, you develop muscles, you strengthen your muscles. Okay, so this could be approached in a different way. Nowadays, people work out, develop muscle by going to a gym and paying and building their muscles. Okay, at that time, you need animal protein to a different degree. But if somebody is doing a manual labor from morning, like, people who build bridges or road workers, builders and all those people working whole day using their body, carrying things. So these are the people who are ideally should consume animal protein for strength, to have this rajasic quality, to keep going, endurance and all these things. So this is where the indication for animal protein comes. And also another indication for animal protein is particularly beef, mentioned in a very extreme vata vitiation. If you're suffering from a strong vata disease, beef is recommended. Even though Ayurveda, people think it's Hinduism, Ayurveda is not a religion. So this is one of the proof as a religion, as such as Hinduism, cow is worshipped. But if it is worshipped, it would not be mentioned to eat. So hence, it's not a religion. So Ayurveda is just a way of life, science of life. And Mamsa Rasa, which is meat soup, is recommended as the lightest, super quickly energizing, nurturing food when your system is depleted, when your cells are deeper level, dehydrated and shrunk and malnourished. The best way to bring nourishment is Mamsa Rasa, because it's directly connected to the Rasa Dhatu, the first tissue that brings all the nourishing quality into your system. So for Vata constitution, people who use their physical body, manual labor, and person who's dried up and malnourished, this is the place to use the meat in a different forms.
Absolutely. And when I was studying Ashtanga Hridayam, it was amazing to me how Ayurveda classified the animals. And a lot of classification was done to the environments.
Yeah, it's called the dry land or a marshy land meat, Jangama or Anupa. So basically, it carries the quality of a tropical wetland or a dry land animal. So considered to be meat coming from the dry land is much more ideal because it doesn't contain wetness, dampness, moisture, which can disturb the human physiology. That's why goat meat is considered to be the best among all the meat, because if you see goat is, walking around, it's not a goat never get fatty, a sheep gets fatty. Mm-hmm. So it's a lean meat. That's what Ayurveda talking about in another understanding. So dryland meat is much more beneficial than a wetland meat like a beef or a bison meat or these kind of meat.
So let's move on to the next one. Myth number 3, no garlic or onions in Ayurveda. And I think I have an idea where this comes from, but let's talk about it.
What do you think?
Yoga, because in the yoga, my yoga teacher training, this came up because it was considered very rajasic, right? Very
absolutely rajasic, and then later it becomes tamasic. That's the reason. But it's also without seeing the vast application of Ayurveda, it just narrowing. When somebody said, when knowledge is very little, we try to make it very narrow, make it very small. So I think that's what happened in yogic practices. When you're meditating, when you're focusing, when you're disciplined, you don't want to have the thoughts that creates too much of desire. So that's why it's mentioned onion and garlic not good when you're pursuing a yogic path. But onion and garlic is described with so much of medicinal property. For example, garlic is considered to be good for your heart diseases. Strengthens the heart. It's also, even though it is pungent, it's also, by processing it also works as alkalizing. It's used in medicine for acidity, not like a raw garlic. Of course, that's going to irritate your gut lining, but like a burnt garlic mixed with milk. It's called a preparation called kshirapaka, considered to be alkalizing, helps with acidity and ulcers and all these things. And onion, which is considered to be palandu, which also mentioned which increases the vigor in men, works with the testosterone, blood circulation, all these things. So, and scraping off whatever is blocked in arteries and all these things. And also, if you scientifically see, onion is rich with quercetin, which is also one of the ingredients needed in clearing up your lung channels. And when you have excessive mucus and clogged alveoli, so quercetin is recommended to clear the channel. So, and another important thing is food is always not seen just as a nutrition. It also seen is how it affects overall your emotions and your state of mind and consciousness. So if you're looking to have a consciousness just simple, static, but profoundly connected, no garlic. But if you want your consciousness to be very penetrative, discovering, researching, lift you from the state of very dull, lethargic, unmotivated, inactive, then you use onion and garlic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're on that real yogi path to the highest state of consciousness, then remove it. But otherwise, it can be very beneficial in the diet. Just take into consideration that garlic can be pungent, has its uses, but onions are not so heating.
Not so pungent as garlic, particularly if you cook the onions, they turn sweet. That's the best way to consume.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you for that. Myth number 4, coffee and alcohol are completely forbidden in Ayurveda. So let's talk about, how does Ayurveda evaluate these substances like coffee and alcohol?
It's so funny about the coffee and things. I've heard, I think, twice in my life in consultation, patient come to me and they say, "Oh, I avoided coming to see you because you're going to tell me I should not drink coffee." It's again not understanding. It's going to some of the systems of nutrition, whether it's a raw food, keto, they don't see the person consumer. It's not adapted to the consumer. It's just a cookie cut principle. and everybody takes it. And people come from that idea when they come to Ayurveda too, because it's good or bad, right?
Yeah,
It's
this is
not
what we're talking about
understanding.
earlier with social media. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
generalized, and that the whole thing with Ayurveda is individualized.
So coffee is, it's bitter. It's also astringent, but it's also very heating. It's also stimulating. So if you look at this quality, then, if a Vata person drinks it more than what they can tolerate, the overstimulation creates anxiety, restlessness, almost feels like their heart is going to explode and cannot focus and all these things. And a Pitta would consume this because of this intense heating quality. It also going to affect them in a small quality because of its bitter taste. A Pitta can benefit, and Vata can also benefit from its heating quality. So there is a small quality, like a food we call dravya, a material, has got many qualities that it emits. And Vata can take only one quality of that. That's the heating quality. The rest of the qualities are bad for Vata. Same thing, Pitta's bitter quality is good, but its intense quality, its heating quality, and drying quality,
And
all those things
acidic.
are not acidic quality. All those things are like it's an amla rasa too. So it's not good. So if there is only one small quantity, then you probably want to use only very little quantity of that. But it's an excellent a dravya or a material for a kapha constitution, because kapha needs heating, kapha needs very penetrative quality, kapha needs warming quality, kapha needs bitter and astringent. So it offers a lot of things for a kapha constitution. So when you're in a kapha state, if you're a kapha constitution, you can use coffee as a product that helps to motivate you, keeps you lighter, keeps your mind a bit more sharper. But the other two constitution, it doesn't help. Then you can have them occasionally just to use for the small benefits that you're going to get from the coffee.
Yes, and ideally not in your season, right? So Pitta would not want to be consuming lots of coffee in Pitta season, and the same with Vata. Okay. Oh, yes, and then alcohol.
Yeah. I want to tell you a little story. This is what I heard. I think I mentioned to you that after a long time desire of mine, I wanted to create a little restaurant that offers food, like a home cooked food using Ayurvedic principles. So we do have some organic wine and local beer in our menu. So one of the waiters came to me the other day and said, "Oh, can we remove the alcohol from the shelf?" Because we had a lady who came to did some treatment, and she came for lunch, and she saw the alcohol bottle, and she didn't want to eat here because she said it's not Ayurvedic to have alcohol in the restaurant. So she was concerned that the customer is going away because we're doing something wrong. So I said, no, you let them know that alcohol is described in Sushruta Samhita as Rudhya and Priyavardaka. That means it opens your heart, and it makes you connected to the sense of love. But you consume at right time. And it clearly says alcohol should be consumed with people, never consume alone.
Yes.
Consumed with people that you like and care about, and consume in a certain quantity, and always with food, and particularly food that are heavy. It's recommended to consume with meat, oily food. This is where you consume. So it supports, it helps, it gives that little lift and little openness, and a easy way to connect to joy.
And it's used in healing as well, right? Arishtas.
Yes, right? Arishtas. A lot of fermented preparations are there where medicines, concoctions or powders and paste, all those things are fermented, and they do contain a small amount of alcohol in them. And used in more like Agni Vardhana, Kapha constitution, Vata constitution. It can be used in a Pitta constitution too, depending on what ingredients you use, like a Draksharishta, which is made up of grapes, and grapes are very good for Pitta. So enhancing your blood in case of anemia, you use Draksharishta.
Okay, so there you go. Coffee and alcohol are not off the list. You just have to be aware of your own constitution, any current imbalances, what season you're in. So it's all about awareness in Ayurveda.
Yeah. and consume knowingly when and how.
Voila, voila. And I think that's a great rule of thumb. Never have alcohol alone. It should be in a joyous occasion. And that's a great way to enjoy it. Okay, myth number 5, Ayurveda is strict and restrictive. So let's talk about, is there space for indulgence and pleasure and flexibility within Ayurvedic living?
Of course, we just cleared one of those things that we said you can have alcohol, right? And, there's Ayurveda views just not like a routines and how the food works. There is a concept Ayurveda brings, if you read the textbooks, called Sadvrata. Sadvrata means a good conduct, good way to behave, you could say. It also talks simple things about, it says, like if you see a woman or a pregnant woman walking with carrying heavy things on their head and you're walking on the path, you should step back and give the space for these people. These kind of conduct, it teaches about that, right?
Social behavior,
social behavior. It's not just only do's and don'ts and things. It also cares about the society's well-being. It also talks about different food groups that you should eat occasionally in certain seasons. It talks about different fried food. It talks about different fermented food. It talks about sweets. When to eat. So different seasonal things, if you look into it, when the Agni is very strong in the winter season, so that's the time you're recommended to drink alcohol, you're recommended to eat fried food or doughy food, all those things where your body can digest. And also it talks about celebrations, different festivals, which also falls in different season. According to that, recommendation to eat certain group of food more, or payasam or kheer, which is a milk-based dessert, milk and sugar-based dessert. It says that to consume that more in the time of the winter festivals and stuff, like a Diwali, it comes close to the winter, and that's the time it's recommends to eat all those fried food and greasy dessert and mindfully consuming. So of course there is time that you celebrate and indulge a little bit. It's like a not monotonous. It's it has to have all the different tastes. That's also Ayurveda talks about, having all the 6 tastes in your diet, not eat the same thing, because it need to keep your mind more alert, and contrast is needed so that what can I choose more that helps. If without the contrast, everything feels dull.
Yeah.
So in a specific time to this indulgence, all these things are recommended. And before you could use the indulgence, you want to have a samasthiti or a balance in the body so that any indulgence you do, your body can buffer with it. But yes, it tells about the discipline and not to do certain things when you're out of balance. So it's like, if somebody's broken their leg and I'm telling them to go and run and jog in the morning. Does it make sense? No. But I can tell that person, once that person's leg is healed, the broken bone is healed, then he can go and run for an exercise. Same thing, discipline is needed when your body's out of balance and it's showing signs that it could cause illness. Then you need to be following strict diet, which may feel like at that time different than what I enjoy. But if you connect with it and you do mindfully, I think you will get used to it, and in the good feeling that you get from consuming that, it makes it satmya. Everything is you becoming compatible with, and you might have become compatible with the wrong thing, and that manifested a disease. But you can also deviate your attention and your awareness, and you can feel compatible with something that's healing and nurturing you for that temporary period of time, and then you need to change. And Ayurveda always talks about, on a healthy diet and stuff, never eat the same food over and over. There's only 5 things that you can eat on a regular basis: mung bean, red rice, rainwater, amla, and ghee. But rest of the stuff you cannot. Even if it is a healthy superfood, after eating 3 to 4 times per week, change it.
And amla being Indian gooseberry.
Yes.
But I think it's a tendency, especially in the West, of being very rigid about certain lifestyles. And most of us didn't grow up accustomed to changing with the season and to tuning into nature more. But as you're saying, when you're following Ayurvedic lifestyle, you're following the Ritucharya, the seasonal guidelines, the Dinacharya, the daily self-care practices. Now you have balance, foundational health. And so you will have resilience to go off and have a night out or go on holiday. This, 80-20 lifestyle we talk about, so that it's sustainable for you and you're not living in this rigidity, which is ultimately going to cause you stress.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you need to be just mindful of, what degree that you can indulge and, and when to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And more you tune and you do this mindfully, you will start liking less of those things is going to harm you. Mm-hmm. Naturally, it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're conscious, you're connected, and your consciousness always want to do good to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll feel it. And again, it's all building up that awareness. The more you're on this Ayurvedic path, the more awareness you create in your body and mind, and you'll feel the subtle signs of imbalance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as a follow-up to that, I mentioned earlier, we see a lot of generalized Ayurvedic rules online now, especially in social media, because they're quick snapshots and can become very generalized. Whereas, as we know, Ayurveda emphasizes individuality. So can you speak a little bit more about that, what it means to practice Ayurveda in a personalized way? We have touched on it, but I think it's really important to emphasize that.
Mm-hmm. The individuality comes from the makeup that you have got, or the energy that creates your physiology. You probably heard about Vata predominant, Pitta predominant, Kapha predominant. It's only a criteria that tells your body metabolism works more with fast and spending, or slow and accumulative, or intense and transformative. So, this is a way you can understand, like a physiology, our existence is movement, transformation, accumulation. This is the three things that goes on in our body. Some people's body is very good at accumulating. Some people's body is very good at intense and transforming. Some people's body is good at spending and depleting and moving. So, I guess you people who are already into Ayurveda, you understand what I'm talking here. The Vata energy of spending and moving, Kapha's energy of accumulation and stability, and Pitta's energy of intensity and transformation. So if you know your machine works in this way and you want to have the food ingredients that keeps that balance, doesn't take it to an extreme. For example, if a kapha is very accumulative and slow, you don't want the food that takes too long to get digested and transformed. The heavy foods like a greasy food, oily food, excessive carbohydrate, wheat, rich sugary food, these all things are accumulative. They take a long time to be broken and turn into energy. So you don't want to eat those kind of food. And activities also you want to do is not to do anything slow, because there is general tendency to be slow and sitting. So you want to have vigorous activities here. And if you're Vata, you're constantly moving and your energy evaporates. You can see that in your personal life. You have a hard time to keep anything. Either it's love or money or anything. Everything is just evaporates out of your hand. It's almost like there's a hole in your system or in your consciousness. So these people need to reduce the excessive movement or food which are too light and quickly move through your system. So you want to have the food which is kapha-like, which takes slow time, digestible, but they need to be keep in mind that it need to be warm because Vata is cold. And when we talk about Pitta, there is a high intensity. For them, there is regular feeding need to happen and regular break need to happen. They need to have some quiet inward time, but they work with the intensity. So this is the individual understanding of how your body physiology works, what's the tendency of your mind. So then you need to choose the activity group of food which resonates in bringing the balance, not having the same quality. Balance is always bringing the opposite quality. If Pitta is intense, you don't want to do anything that increases your intensity, like a coffee or alcohol or exercising in heated environment. All those things increases the intensity, heat in the body. You don't want to. Where Vata is constantly moving, erratic, you don't want to do like a spin class and go for a run. So rather you want to do something which is slow, steady, mindful in yoga or a hatha yoga, this kind of stuff. and eat food, sitting down, slowing down, look into what you can do to slow down your system or slow down your mind. But a kapha should look into what can I do to sharpen my mind, activate my body, and reduce accumulation.
And it really is, like, I was going to keep going back to the path of awareness. And it's so interesting to have curiosity about how you work, how your body and mind works, and how your environment is affecting you, your foods are affecting you, and to be constantly curious about your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to just put a note here. People who are listening, I don't want them to be overwhelmed to say, oh my God, every little thing affects me. And I just go and, look everything through a lens. You don't need to go to that extreme, start few things you naturally, it's a natural science. It's inside of you. You probably might have deviated and stopped paying attention or not knowing, but few basic things, if you would do, the rest of the things is going to come naturally.
Yeah. And it's very logical as well. As you increase your awareness, things will shift naturally, as you said. Okay. Are there any other myths or misconceptions that you want to cover?
Like one of the things I heard is, if you're following veganism, you cannot be Ayurvedic because Ayurveda loves ghee. And so that's one thing. You can still follow the veganism and follow the Ayurvedic principles. You can skip the ghee. Of course, ghee has its own value, but can you be healthy without using the ghee? Yes, you can. There's so many other alternatives that you could do to, follow the Ayurvedic principles, but stay vegan. Also, people believe that if you want to eat an Ayurvedic way, you need to eat Indian food. You don't need to. You can apply the principles of Ayurvedic nutrition to any cuisine that you're familiar with or you like. So it doesn't need to be Indian food and curry powder in your food.
Exactly. Ayurvedic cooking is not Indian cuisine.
Yeah.
That's a very good myth to cover because people just assume that Ayurvedic cooking is Indian food.
Yeah. And also another thing I would say, you can begin exploring Ayurveda in a very simple way. You don't need to do everything. Like, they say, okay, if I follow Ayurvedic routine, I have a whole 1 hour dedicated, starting from scraping my tongue to doing all those things. So you can start small, you can just introduce one thing. And when that becomes part of your life, get up another one.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, all at once. Don't overwhelm yourself. I want to go back to talking about ghee, because ghee does have such an amazing benefit for the body, for the microbiome, that obviously it's used a lot in cleansing to encourage chelating out the fat soluble toxins and to heal the microbiome. And so there is that discussion when a vegan person wants to cleanse in Ayurveda, that there's always that question around the ghee. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I always tell people, okay, can you, is it like you're vegan because you like the title? Or, it's that something gives you some special feeling? Are you vegan because you don't want to hurt animals and don't want to, negatively affect the environment, the dairy industry, meat industry, how they are? Are you respecting that? Or if it is not for the title, it's not for the ego, but it's really a conscious decision, I would say, okay, then can we find a ghee that's, sourced organically? And if this is going to give you the benefit and you want to feel good and heal, and it's also discriminating from my side also to see, okay, whether this person's illness or a condition needs ghee. If I would not use, I do panchakarma without having to use the ghee when it is needed. So, and if I think that ghee is going to give a good result, I want to enroll people and I want them to, shift a little bit and take a space and say, okay, can I become a better person when I'm healthy and happy? Or can I suffer and be the person that I want to bring peace, which is not possible when you're suffering to bring peace. You're attached to a concept of it. So I'll tell people, okay, maybe this ghee is going to help you. Can you take somebody else's sacrifice or offering? So for you to feel good, and then you can do more of the good when you go away. So if one can look at it, they can still be vegan and temporarily use ghee as a medicine. And if it is a complete aversion because of taste or something, then no forcing. Nothing should be forced. a Ayurvedic treatment protocol, food, anything, aversion should not be there. Aversion is the biggest cause for vata aggravation. So that's one thing. And okay, then the benefit is not so big for them to change their thinking and all those things. I use flax oil, I use coconut oil, depending on if somebody has got a candida and fungus, I go for cold pressed coconut oil. If somebody has bad cholesterol, I go for olive oil, and I will use flax oil if they have heart conditions and all these things. So I do adopt if I see the benefit is going to be reflected through this fat I'm going to use without using the ghee.
Okay, great. Okay, one more myth that's come out of that, what you just said, ghee and cholesterol. I know there has been studies done, looking at the effects of ghee on cholesterol, and some of them have been varied, right? Varied results. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it depends. Your cholesterol is because you have too much of ama and then you use a lot of ghee. You can show the results having ama. But if you know how to do the Deepana Pachana using the ghee along with the right herb, and you can reverse. I had recently a patient who took a statin and stuff. She had a strong reaction to that. Any medicine, our body cannot take it. Her cholesterol level was an 8. And she did the panchakrama using the ghee. She went back and did the results. She never could get her cholesterol numbers down. And she had absolutely normal cholesterol after doing the panchakrama. So it depends. If you are a kapha sedentary lifestyle, you eat a lot of fat or a lot of ghee in your diet, you will show high cholesterol. But if the ghee, along with proper procedure, proper right herb and lifestyle, it can help you to reduce the cholesterol. Cholesterol is nothing but ama. So, and ghee is used in panchakarma to increase your agni and increase your body's ability to process, digest, and convert things into energy or remove what's not needed by your body. Because ama is something which is a fault in the process of metabolism. It's something which has stopped in its transformation process. So when you go through the panchakrama process, you help that transformation to complete so that it could be converted into nutrition, and whatever cannot be converted, it could be eliminated.
And Dr. Sujatha just mentioned there Deepana and Pachana. So that's a process during the cleanse, which Deepana is stimulating the Agni, the digestive fire, and Pachana is the digestion of the ama accumulation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's great to hear. Yes. And so it's very much dependent on each person as well, their diet, their lifestyle, their unique health history. So we can see that it always comes back to a very individualized protocol when it comes to Ayurveda. And that's something important to remember when you're looking at these generalized snippets of information, that it always has to be tailored to each person.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dr. Sujatha, before we finish up here, can you tell us about Amrita City and especially your new hub, new Ayurveda hub?
I guess, a lot of people heard about Amrita Siddhi in many other podcasts if they have listened. It's an Ayurvedic center in Ubud, Bali. We work with people from different ailments to detoxification process. It's like if you're looking for an holistic approach to find a solution for your health issues. And Hub is something I recently created with the vision to empower and help people to understand what Colette is doing now through the podcast. This is for people who want to understand health and wellness more and feel empowered, learn. Not only just a human being who want to live healthy, happy, and long, but also other practitioners who want to apply they know in a very mindful way and individualized way. So this is a platform. It's a community for that, for learning, experiencing, relaxing. People who don't know much about Ayurvedic healing modality, they just want to experience something light. Hub is the place to go. So we have a spa part of it, academy is a part of it, accommodations and wellness place. It's a way where you can, with the ease and lightness, come and experience Ayurveda.
Yes, and really get away from it all, have an in real life experience. And in the beautiful cocoon that is Amrita City, it's just a little oasis of calm. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Sujatha, as always, thank you. This was a fun episode to cover these misconceptions and myths, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. And I will put the link to Dr. Sujatha's Amrita City and the Ayurveda Hub in there as well. Great. Thank you, Dr. Sujatha. Until next time.
Yeah. Bye, Colette.
Take care. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Sujatha, and please check out the show notes for all the links mentioned. You'll also find the link to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, where you'll find all my online services. And if you want to chat before booking any of my services, then take advantage of my free 15-minute services inquiry call. We can hop on Zoom and I can answer all of your questions. If you think that this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. And I would appreciate a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so the new episodes download automatically for you. And please come join me on social media. On Instagram, it's Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, it's Elements, Healing and Wellbeing. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.